In this lecture, we're going to be learning how to draw cast shadows, but using correct perspective. So cast shadows, we've already gone over. If we have a sphere like this, a cast shadow would be the shadow underneath that sphere. So it might be shaped something like an ellipse or something like that. But how do we know how big to make that and how long to stretch it out? Stuff like that. Well, in this lecture, we're going to be learning how to do that. So let's go ahead and let's start by just drawing some simple perspective like we already know how to do. So let's do 1 point perspective. So I'm just going to draw a line coming across the center like that. Find my 1 point. And then I'm going to draw a cube coming off of that. So then I'll draw a straight line coming up like this, across, and just get the front surface of that cube. Let's go ahead and add the back edge. And then we can just go ahead and erase that. Something like that. All right, great. So now we have our basic cube right here. So the first thing we need to do to add cast shadows is we need to figure out where our light source is. So in this case, let's say that it's something like the sun. So we're going to have it extend all the way out to, it's going to be straight above our horizon line. So if you want something like the sun to be your light source, it needs to basically have a beginning at the horizon line, and then it needs to go straight up to wherever that sun is. So let's say that the sun is going to be up here. So we're just going to draw a little tiny circle to represent the sun. And then we want to just bring a line straight down to our horizon line like that. So when you're drawing cast shadows and you're deciding where your light source is, you need to think of your light source like a line. It's not just 1 point, it's a line, because you need to know where it is at the bottom, where it's touching the ground, and you need to know where it is at the top. As we start to do more of these, you'll understand more what I mean by this. All right, so next what we want to do is we basically just want to draw straight lines coming from here to here, and then we want to just kind of continue that on as best we can. So go ahead and something like that. Do the same thing from here to here. We want to extend that all the way out and do it on this corner as well. So we're basically just extending that out to every corner. All right, perfect. Next, what we want to do is we want to come down here to this point on the horizon line. And we want to extend the same lines from that point. So from here, but we want to extend them to the bottom corners of our cube. So we want to go from here to there, extend that all the way out like that. Same with this one. And it might take a few times of guessing until you finally get it to go through that corner. Like that. All right, perfect. So now that we have all those lines, what we can do is we can take the points where they cross. So this corner right here and this corner down here, the lines coming off of them, they cross right there. So that's going to be our first point of our shadow. And then where these two lines cross, so the line from that corner and the line from this corner, they're going to cross actually somewhere off the page, but we know that it's just somewhere right about down here. So that's good enough that we know that it's there. And then this line that comes to that corner and the line that goes to that corner, they cross right here. So we want to connect all those together. So let's go ahead and do that. So we know that this line needs to connect somewhere over here. So I'm just going to click somewhere out here like that. So it goes off the page a little bit, but that's all right. And we want to do the same thing here. So we want to connect from, whoops. We want to connect from here to wherever we think that crosses off the page. If this were on the page, we could actually click on the exact spot where it's crossing. But for now, that's good enough. All right. So now that we have that drawn out, it's getting a little bit complicated. So what we can do is we can go ahead and add a new layer, and let's just kind of redraw some of the lines that we want to actually see and keep. So I'm going to turn down the opacity on our guideline layer like that. And then on top of that, on this other layer, we can go ahead and just redraw some of these lines. So I'll redraw that line, this line, connect these points back. And then what we want to do is we want to connect this bottom line. So the one coming from this bottom light point, we want to go ahead and draw the line out like that to where this point is, where these two lines cross and converge. And then we'll draw that to here. And we'll just trace out that shape we created for the cast shadow. And now we have the exact shape for our cast shadow based upon where our light source is in the sky. So you can see that because of where the light source is, this gets stretched out quite a bit. If we had our light source even higher, then this stretched out shadow, let me just do some lines in here just so you can see that this is the shadow. This shadow would actually get a lot shorter. It'd kind of come more in like that. And if it were closer down towards the horizon line, like down here, then this shadow would get stretched out really far. It would get completely stretched off the page. All right, so we can go ahead and shade this in now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, since our light source is from the behind, then this is going to be our core shadow. So I'm just going to go ahead and enlarge my brush, and I can just fill this in with core shadow. And I'm going to do this on a separate layer just to keep it nice and clean and separated. All right, perfect. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to switch to a mid-tone gray, maybe a little bit darker than a mid-tone gray. I can go ahead and fill in this part. And then I'm just going to leave this top surface white. And then this cast shadow, we can go ahead and fill that in. We can fill it in with a gradient actually. So let's just, actually that's going to get a little bit complicated. So let's just go ahead and fill it in with one tone for now. So I'm going to fill it in with this black. All right, perfect. So there you go. We can go ahead and turn off our guideline layers. Now you can see that we have a box drawn in perspective. And not only is it in perspective, but we also have the cast shadow in correct perspective. Now, sometimes your cast shadow might fade out the further away it gets. It depends on the light source, and it also might have a lot softer edges. So this is a really extreme example. It's very black and white, but you get all kinds of different cast shadows. So it's also important that you observe cast shadows in real life, but this is how you make sure that the basic shape is in correct perspective. Now let's have a look at another example. So I'm going to turn all these layers off. Just go ahead and put them in a folder so they're out of the way for now. I'm going to add a new layer. So we don't always have to draw our cast shadows based off of our horizon line, or even really have to draw perspective in there. So like what we can do, for example, is we can just go ahead, let's draw a cube out of our head. So we're not even going to use perspective. We're just going to rough in the perspective. So I'm just going to draw a line like this. I'll draw another line in, something like this. And then another line, something like this for my top surface. Then I'll draw a line coming across on the other side, like this. Another one there. Like that. Then I can just have a line come straight down there. Right there, and right there. So the perspective on this cube might be a little bit off, and it might not even be off. It might just not be a perfect cube. There's a lot of reasons why it might not be perfect. So it might not just be that it's not perfect perspective, but either way, no matter what, we should be able to get a perfect shadow from this, whether this is drawn in correct perspective or whether it's just an unnatural cube. So in this case, rather than drawing our light source out at the horizon line, we're actually going to put it right here in front of our object. So I'm going to have the bottom start just, let's say, right about here. So that's where it's going to be touching the ground. If we could draw a guideline back like that, you can see that it would connect to there on the cube and it would go up and over like this. But we don't need that. I'm just showing that for demonstration purposes. What we want to do is we just want to draw that line, because if you remember, I said you got to think about the lighting as a line when you're drawing it in perspective. So we want to draw a line coming up to wherever we want that light source to be. So in this case, I'm going to put the light source way up here at the top of the page. So there's the bottom and there's the top. So we want to do the same thing once again. So I'm going to connect this light source line through this guy right here and down. So Go ahead and just click from here and draw a line through there. And again, you might have to guess a few times until you get it to the exact right spot. We'll go ahead and do this corner over here. Great. Now, another thing we need to do when we're drawing a cube with a light source in front of it is we need to kind of see through that cube. So since these are the guidelines, we can go ahead and just draw the lines here, and then we'll redraw this on top on another layer. So I'm going to draw a line like this for this back part, and actually that needs to be angled a little bit differently, something like that. And then I can draw a straight line coming down from this corner, and then I know from that corner to there it will connect. And then I can go ahead and just erase some of that out because we don't need that line. All right, so now we can kind of see through our cube. And this is really important because you can see back here on this corner, we're gonna need this bottom line to connect back to the corner right below it like that. And so that's why we need to see through this cube. All right, so next what we're gonna do is let's go ahead and we're gonna connect from each corner from this bottom line until it crosses with its line up here. So we'll go ahead and draw a line from here to there, like that. And then we'll go ahead and do the same thing for the next corner. And then we'll do the same thing for the last corner. Got to make sure that we get that nice and straight. All right, great. So now we can see where those all cross each other. So this corner and this bottom corner, they cross right here. Then this top corner and this bottom corner, they cross right here. And then this corner and this bottom corner, they cross here behind the box. So we don't even have to worry about that. Well, we do because we need to actually connect from here to here. So let's go ahead and let's start connecting all these together. So we first get let's actually draw this on a new layer so we can see what's going on. And we'll turn down the opacity a little bit on this guideline layer just so we can see what's going on a little bit better. And let's start by drawing the box. So I'm going to go ahead and just redraw this. And then we can go ahead and draw a line from here to there, and then from here to that point, and then from this point to that point. So that's where all those lines were crossing. And we can also go ahead and take our eraser and erase out this part that goes behind the box. We just had to draw that line to make sure it was a straight line to that point. All right, perfect. And now we can go ahead and shade all this in. So I'll add a layer beneath it. Let's just do a dark gray for a core shadow this time. So since our light source is coming from the front, actually, our core shadow is going to be on this back surface back here behind the box, so we're actually not going to see that. So we can go ahead and just do our midtone shadow right here on this surface. Then we can go ahead and do the cast shadow. So the cast shadow is going to be a little bit darker. So drag it to about there. We'll go ahead and paint this in. All right, perfect. So there we go. Now if we go ahead and we turn off our guidelines, you can see that now we have a nice box with its cast shadow in perfect perspective. All right, that brings us to the end of this lecture. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.